Yo, yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 107 of Mini Truckin Magazine. It's November 2000. We've got a lot to talk about. I do want to mention issue 106. Someone did clarify the crew cab white Nissan Frontier. That was also in Extreme Lows, I was told. So it's always cool to have people chime in with good intel. So what do we have here? Todd Radar Hendrix, his Isuzu Spacecab. This feature, of course, by Lance. Those that do not know, I always just assumed until I looked a little further, I was like, wait, maybe it wasn't shot in Texas. It was shot in Parker, Arizona, confirmed by Radar at West Coast Nats. So that would have been West Coast Nats that we just saw, I think, in a recent issue from 2000. And it was shot next to Bluewater Casino in a gravel pit. The gravel pit looks very similar to where Courtney would shoot trucks at Texas Heatwave, which is why my mind always kind of went to that. You'll see that in the feature. This was the 9th Negative Camber NC truck to grace the cover of the magazine. This was the 4th cover with Billet Specialty wheels, of course, out of 13 total. Now, Radar's rendering, of course, appears in the feature, so let's jump in and shout out to Pat Maxwell. I got a chance to talk with him at Lone Star Throwdown that we were just at, LST 2023, and it was a good time. You got some good insert photos here. You could see that they were promoting highly the website, as I mentioned recently. That was kind of the infancy of that. We do see it's Prime Media. Haven't really talked about this a whole lot, but you could see McMullen, Argus still publishing. So that stuff kind of bounces around and changes, and that's the way it works in that whole industry. A lot of that stuff is owned by, of course, Motor Trend now. We could see a Toyo tire ad here, and we've got a lot going on. A little tough, not tough to read, but obviously with the color, you got to kind of adjust your eyes here with the background color. You can see the features. You got Jimmy Graham, so we'll talk about Jimmy's Hardbody here. And you could see after many years of sleepless nights, Todd Radar Hendrix's body dropped Maxwell-ized Isuzu, say that 10 times fast, by Lance. And Lance gets the sole credit for this one. Again, if you like what we're doing here, please find us via almost any podcast app and search OLP. Back in the day, so you got some throwback photos there. Some of you will remember this truck. I always love when photos pop up of that truck. And it does spill over, which didn't happen very often. It spills over here. This truck was famous, I think, from show coverage, seeing, again, what Mike could be doing with his Isuzu, or with his Mazda. He could, we trying to convince him to do the gold wing doors. That thing has some heavy bods to it. If you like what we're doing here, again, some of you guys continue to comment, and that helps us out. We're continuing to grow, so I just want to say thank you. Day tripping, so McMullen, Argus, and Power Sport groups made a trip over to northern destination known as Bakersfield, Cali, and they were checking out Trenz. We had Doug DeBerti on, thanks to our friend Josh Ellis making that connection, and Doug and his son are of course, continuing with much success, but it's cool to see all the throwback stuff. Here you see Browsing Around. That was something they would promote, and what was cool, even though I mentioned recently like how they were promoting their site, they would promote websites, and you can see like this is maybe one of the first times we really see it called out. But Street Scene, there you go, it's in print. And again, that does go on to change to Street Source, and I believe, again, the untold story there is we were told back in the day there was a cease and desist, and it was because of another hot rod magazine didn't like that the name was too sounding like their magazine. Hot Rod something, I don't remember. But I totally forgot that they promoted that website in this issue, which was cool because it was a lifestyle site. Bag Boy, so you can see the same wall here again. They would shoot, as Mike Self chimed in on one of the recent flip-throughs, and kind of reinforced, and we know this, from going to as many shows as we did. For those that don't know, is they would be tasked with shooting as many vehicles as they could. They knew people in the area, and they knew kind of what they needed to get. And you could imagine going to a 2 or 3 day show, might be able to take 10, 20 plus features. It's a lot of content. Some will spill over to the other sister publications and stuff as well. So here's paper cuts. What I want to call out is right here is Eric Cryan in the truck that we know as 99 letter N DRGN 99 and Dragon. That was back at that was November of 99. That photo was taken, and you could see right here that was Brandon's S-10. I know I keep talking about this, and that S-10 is what is in the photo Whazz Up, that I say that's going to be there probably more than any photo in the magazine history, because it runs for a long time. They never change it out. But that photo was taken like looking this way, and a bunch of guys were standing over in this way. But Eric is cruising past that area at the fairgrounds, and that's Brandon's truck right there. So pretty cool. Again, that truck went on to run in street trucks. It was copper, and then it ended up with graphics. And again, I'd love to get Eric on at some point. There's a cool story behind how the truck went from copper to copper with graphics. Some of you guys will know that. Showmanship. So a real clean Mini here with the flames. Some good insert photos. I do appreciate many of you watch these all the way through, and we certainly appreciate that. I got to give a lot of love, especially to Neil over in Texas. He came by the booth, and it was really cool to chop it up with him. And he said, yo, ODB, man, like I've been doing my thing and doing everything I can to help the minutes watched. And it did help. It really did. And even though it's not, I mean, it's pennies at this point, it still kind of gives you a little motivation to go, you know what? I'm going to produce a couple videos this week. Johnny Garage Johnson, of course, shout out to him. He's always showing love, and try to watch his all the way through as well. Boogie down in SoCal, so Seductive Minis hosts the first summer kickoff, and we'll take a look at some of the photos here. It was a great era in the scene. I forget if that was a Down to Earth car. Super clean. I remember seeing this thing. Bio Customs. Bag to drag in the Dragon era. That was Severed. I think that was the truck that went on to be on the cover. And then here's J La Rosa. We recently had, talked a little bit about this truck, and it's kind of cool to see. I'm guessing, any of you S10 guys know, that doesn't look like the S10 seat. The top, the pattern does, but it's either a high-end S10 or it's different in terms of the controls there. But I always love that blood red interior, the floating amps. Steve Platt talked about it when we had him on, talking about the Hot Wheels truck. Again, if you haven't checked out the podcast, I mean, that was the spring off point for us to do all this. I mean, without the podcast, I wouldn't have this channel. So I definitely encourage you guys. Some people I always hear like, well, I'm not really a podcast guy. Dude, if you're not listening to podcasts, you're missing out, because you can find a podcast for welding, for hot rods, for fishing, wrestling, all that stuff. So you can't give the excuse in 2023 that, I'm not really a podcast guy. I mean, I know some people like to watch this stuff, but hey, man, you're missing out. That's where the real content from us is at. Airbag Commandments. Thinking of Notorious B.I.G., the 10 blank commandments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the boom 10 commandments. Okay, Caged Neon, so a little play on words there from Caged Demon, I guess. Pretty cool stuff here. Suicide doors. Awesome stereo setup. You didn't see, for a while there with trucks, I mean, you wouldn't see the craziest door panels. I mean, like, that's a full door panel. Stereo, material, Real clean. Not saying that, you know, that there weren't any. Don't get me wrong. But 89 Yoda, certainly there were some badass interiors and stuff. But like, you look at this and I go, just dude, man, like I would take this any day. There's a lot going on. Neons, TV, speakers. I love it all. I just look at this stuff and go, dude, that's what got me in it. I'll take it anytime, any day. Jay La Rosa right here. His ad for Sport Truck Specialties. Follow us via social media as well. Many of you are. And if you're on Instagram, turn on those post notifications. The algorithm is tough, man. I get people all the time hitting me up going, yo, man, I want to grow. I'm like, good luck. Sometimes you'll get lucky. So Cambered, this is Todd Radar Hendrix's Isuzu pup. Got a chance. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him a lot, but I did see Radar at LST. Of course, Radar is part of the team, Jared and Lonnie, as well as the wives. They do their damn thing, and you know, so big shout out to them. LST was amazing. This is kind of the giveaway photo right here. You can see that's not Texas, but this again was shot next to Bluewater Casino in the gravel pit. Pretty cool stuff. Lance, of course, laid it down. A truck that Radar went on to sell that he did acquire back, thankfully. And I say that because this is a cool truck. I saw it at Heatwave 01. Was probably the first and only time I saw it. Maybe I saw it after he sold it. I don't think so. I don't know if that guy really took it to shows. But this thing is super cool. Again, this is the 4th cover truck with Billet Specialty wheels out of 13 covers total. Radar, if I remember correctly, was on Built to Cruise. Now, Jeremy, I know, hasn't been producing new content, but Jeremy is a great guy, and I know that he does intend to get back into the content production. But Built number 2 and then Cruise, just how it sounds, I believe they had Radar on, and they kind of showed his garage, which was kind of cool. So check that out. Radar's a great dude. He's a hardcore mini trucker. And I appreciate the intel, Radar, on the where it was shot. Now here is Pat Maxwell. I got a chance to again slap hands and talk with him a little bit on some things he's got going on, some top secret projects. Trying to get him to fly out to paint Mike's Mazda, dude. Of course, you know, I try to strike the deal and I go, well, Mike, he's, you know, get your checkbook out. You know what I mean? And Mike kind of was nowhere to be found. But Pat Maxwell, he will travel. If those that don't know, he does a lot of on-site work, pretty much, I think, is what he does now. And he's the man. He, of course, does some of the artwork for Lone Star Throwdown. He does the old school kind of retro throwback, non-digitized stuff. But yeah, there you go. Radar's Isuzu. I did post a little video of it from Heatwave 2001. I think I did it not too long ago on YouTube. So hit that bell notification. I know you hear that from like every YouTube creator, but that bell and the notification, kind of turning on post notifications on Instagram, it does help. It helps us, and it helps you make sure you get the content. I'm on YouTube every night watching the content creators I like. Movie site locations, you know, hip hop, a lot of mini truckers, of course, doing the damn thing. Real nice setup here. I know I kind of gloss over some of the tech articles, but again, I try to put it at a level where you guys can zoom in, and it is in 4K, so you can bounce it up. Dragon Shine. So a couple things going on here. Here is the S-10 that I've talked about that has bounced around several times, and really nice truck, you know, a little bit different with the front bumper and things like that, which I always appreciated. One thing I did not like on my truck, I had those mirrors. Mine was a base model with the non-carpet, and it had those mirrors, and those were like the first things I had to rip off. I remember getting the street, is it street? Not street scene. Yeah, street scene. Remember the company street scene? They had the sport mirrors and stuff. I remember getting those, and it's a story about how I had those on there. I think they were painted, and a guy at a movie theater backed up and ripped one of my mirrors off and broke it. I was like, damn. And I called the company and he goes, I'll hook you up, man. I'll send you one, no problem. I mean, that was like 98. Boom, got a free mirror, had to get it painted. Here is, I guess, Leif Christensen, 89 Maz dog. Check it out. I always loved those chrome air cleaners. I got to do that on mine. I mean, I got to get the points over Mike, dude. You know, I got the new thing I'm going to share with you guys is thanks to one of the big homies, Rich, in Florida with a Toyota with no hood. Rich hooked it up, and dude, I've got a club. Not a truck club, but I've got the club. And I told Mike, if I get that thing chromed, man, he may not win a trophy again. Ashton Harwood. So I always would forget Ashton's name, but he, keep me honest, he was the one that owned the Blazer that got featured in Truckin, and Lance helped me out not too long ago and said, hey, you know, it was Ashton, and that his Blazer was the one that was like going to be on 20s, like when 20s were like, you know, the first truck, you know, maybe mini truck on 20s with the roof cut off. Got to talk about that thing in the future. I'd posted it not too long ago. Minis and Enthusiasts reign supreme at Cruisefest 2000. So you got the famous Taco. All of the Tacoma, also short for Taco. These things run together in my head. I can't rattle them off. I know I saw this truck before. Was this Taco Supreme? Or Taco Supreme might have been the Zeratis. Like I said, the cool thing is that Taco being short for Tacoma, you had just these unlimited names of just like different tacos. And yeah, I can look at those trucks and go, I know, you know, it was Wilt built, right? Wilt built, but I do not remember the name of it. I'm sure as soon as I hit end on recording, I'll remember. Isuzu Ombre, you don't see a lot of. Real clean. Ranger with some billets, hitting 3-wheel motion. Take another sip of the potion. Hit the 3-wheel motion. Mike was glad everything had worked out at LST. He dropped me off and then he did chirp out because he had to get home. He dropped me off at 9 o'clock Sunday night. We were on the road all day. It was awesome. Here you go. Look at that. Please do not pee in the location. You got next Friday. Again, VHS were still pumping at that time. There's Dustin's S-10. What's in the CD changer? Photo, little truck photography here. And who do we got here? Infest, Papa Roach, Weird Al Yankovic. Notable quotables. Jokes. I am trying to put these out more often, so we are kind of plugging away. You got probably the most riding arounds here. Here's Patrick Anderson's. Every time I hear the name Anderson, I think Dennis Anderson from the monster truck deals, the videos, or the commercials. So, if you don't know, now you know, homie. Jimmy Graham, Jim and Juice, leading the new movement. He was in New Movement. This is Jimmy's Hardbody that went on to grace the cover of Street Trucks. And actually, God, in my mind, I want to say it was March 03. So it might have been 20 years ago this month. I got to dig that thing out. Joe Grieve shot it back then. Joe had formed a good relationship with Jimmy, and he shot a lot of stuff, including, rest in peace, Jen Lacey. And he shot Chick's Ride. Now, I'm looking here, and they would sometimes emit information, and I don't see, unless it's right in here where we can't see it, and it has the MT right there. I don't see, I'm guessing Joe shot this. I mean, again, Joe had forged a great relationship with Jimmy, and he shot a lot of his stuff. But sometimes they would leave stuff out, and that's what it looks like they did. So this was Jimmy's truck. It was on Juice. It ties into like Gin and Juice, Jim and Juice. Again, new movement. This truck has basically vanished. Nobody has seen it since Jimmy sold it. If anybody knows where it's at, we've heard it like private collection. We heard a car dealer bought it in Ohio. We heard it was in Ohio. That's where I heard years and years ago. Johnny Garage Johnson, anybody out there that knows where this truck now, of course it looks different, and now it's making me want to go pull out that Street Trucks. He ends up changing it up, full powder coated frame, Frontier front end, crazy flames, suicide doors, redoes the interior, no topper, aka camper shell. But that's Jimmy's truck, man. All that tweed. I wish we could find it back for him. Here is Whazz Up. There's that photo again. So that's the S-10 that I was talking about. The S-10 is right there. And Eric would have been driving over here because we see the right side of the truck. But that's that photo. And you can see the S-10 there. Shannon Bullis. Here is his tandem, which that might have been down here in Tampa. He brought it down here one year. But this section right here, Whazz Up. Can't pass this. Some Beastie Boys drop. Remember seeing that tag recently. Forget what it was on. North Carolina, of course. I always talk about, I've always mentioned this when I think of North Carolina. They can get 8 characters plus the dash. I don't know if they could still do that, but 8 characters. So they would routinely have some cool stuff. This might have been shot at Heat Wave. It might have been shot, it's hard to tell in the background where. Oklahoma, so that could have easily been Parker, Arizona as well. This thing is nuts, right? So what's cool for me, even to go back and look at some of these magazines, is some of this stuff I just forget about because I haven't opened, maybe thumbed through, but I haven't opened these issues and I have not seen this feature in probably 20 years. You talk about crew cabs being all the rage and stuff, but you could flip back and you can see things like this and just go, dude, really innovative, ahead of their time. Photography was Mike Key, and what they did was they would trade out these features with other publications, or they would, Lance would maybe get a letter and say, sure, have someone shoot it, whatever the case is. But like if this thing was at a show today, like people would just go bonkers. You can see that typical like Ford front end from the 80s, wood bed floor. I mean, really ahead of its time, and some things just didn't get the credit that they deserved. In fact, a Ford Granada sedan, the equivalent of an Escort. And check this thing out, rolling clean. Kind of crazy, kind of different, kind of like, damn, like, okay, I dig it. Here you can see again, they were pushing, here they weren't pushing the Great Ride, but they, we see the tandem, and we see rest in peace Rob's truck there on that ad, which would have been cool, if you were the owner of one of these trucks. Here we got Sketchpad again. I know I don't spend a lot of time on that, but shout out to all the kinfolk that can do the damn thing. I can't. Here's the S-10 I've talked about with graphics. Had chrome cab mounts on it. Remember that? Remember seeing it. It happened again. Let's see what he's talking about here. The hangout. 2 officers got out of the patrol car. That was always cool. Mike would always write about some of the trials and tribulations. Man, some of us don't have any idea, man, in Killicali, the issues that they would run into. Okay, last thing we need to hit upon is really this truck probably would have been on the cover. This was possibly from the feature. Okay, we know this truck as Ty's truck. Craig from Battle and Bama owns it now, and he's been the curator. I think he's done a great job. This truck, how ironic is it? This truck, as well as Radars, which is on the cover, goes on for like a double feature that Courtney shoots it for, and they teased that it could have been a Street Trucks cover in this same era. So remember, Street Trucks August 99 was the first issue. I think the tag was on the ground, right? GRD, maybe? I can't remember. I met this guy, Cal. This guy has been painting these graphics for a long time, longer than you guys realize. Really amazing dude, but the guys in the, Gulf Coast know him. But my assumption, and someone could chime in, that this was shot for the magazine. And because Courtney shot this along with Radar's truck, and, you know, again, they teased it in that Street Trucks where it could have been a cover. They had some little photos. I think Radar's was on the cover, like a little insert photo. But this is pretty cool. I've said this before with Mosberry Delight. That was the only truck that I know that had the one photo that I could remember in graffiti. This case is, again, another example of one truck, which we rarely saw. But this was pretty neat how they kind of laid it out. And, you know, they were showing love to Ty's Mazda. Ironically enough, I know Ed Eister chimed in the Sidekick that was at, or no, Geo Tracker that was at Lone Star Throwdown. It had a very similar vibe with the colors. And that was the first thing that I thought of. So, and then you can see what they did here. They kind of fill in the space. They kind of stretched the image, looks like. But yeah, early Street Trucks feature when Ty owned it, and Ty Zito, right, was his name, and Radars as well. And of course you got MIC. So a little bit longer on this one. I do apologize, but for those that stuck with us, issue 107, shout out to Todd Radar Hendrix again, him and his team at Lone Star Throwdown, and their team, I should say, but also he is the guy behind the West Coast Influence. So hit up minitruckfilm.com and buy a DVD or Blu-ray. I'm going to go ahead and flash now. If you want to subscribe, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching all the way through. Stay on the rise. Fourth cover out of 13 with Billet Specialty wheels. We at ya. Peace out, y'all.